Hey guys, welcome to Loreweek. I'm your host, the Lore Dude. Excuse me. Hello, who we got? Magister Huanta, Hazardous, Snickerfriend, Anthony, Bartman Dilemma, and the Empire. Ugh. Cordoon, or Cordon. Sorry, I'm kind of blah. This has been a weird and unpleasant morning. Jason Bauer, Valvadrix. I'm suing you, Valvadrix! Hey, Sacred King. I'm also suing Rex Simus for stealing my show. Hi, Rex. Hi, Saldir. Yeah, so, before we go any farther, Total Biscuit died. I know all of you have actually heard of this already. I know this isn't news. Lord knows I had people coming in every few hours over the past several days, saying, "Oh my God, did you hear the news?" Yes, obviously I heard the news. I heard the news very, very quickly because I try to keep, I pay attention to a lot of stuff like that, especially within that community. And Total Biscuit was arguably the largest name in the internet entertainment community, Twitch streaming, YouTube, that kind of a thing. Someone who was so big that companies, developers, large name developers like Valve and Blizzard would actually reach out and say, hey, and he was the kind of person who was a pusher and a mover. Whether you agreed with all of his policies or not, he's dead. And that's not a good thing. So a moment of silence, please. And if I can add one personal touch to this, he was younger than I am. Something about that is weird to think about. We all know that death is kind of a part of life. It's pretty natural, as weird as that may sound. It's also something that probably should exist. If human beings lived, forever, basically, we would actually have problems, rather severe and significant problems. But that's too young. Chemo. I hate chemo. I've hated chemo for years. It's because of the medical side of my family. Yeah. Cancer sucks. And I hope someday we will be sufficiently capable of altering our own genetic remodulation and mutation to prevent cancer from happening. And I phrase that very specifically. There's no cure for cancer. It doesn't work that way. Cancer is a byproduct, not a disease. Anyways, I don't want to get into that topic. Moving on. Someone once told me that one of the best ways to honor someone's passing is to try and enjoy life. And I gotta be honest, I kind of agree with that. It doesn't mean don't mourn. Some people misunderstand that. It doesn't mean don't be sad. That's not the point. That's like saying you shouldn't be afraid on a field of battle. Of course you should be afraid, but you should do something regardless of that fear. And in a similar situation, though we are emotionally impacted by this, sad, we should still do something about that, my opinion. Which is why we're going to be playing Legion later and enjoying it. We're doing the Broken Shore today, which should be pretty awesome. Sorry, I've just had a really bad morning. It's one of those mornings when you question why you keep bothering. let's go ahead and jump into lawsuits. I'd like to get to Legion as quickly as possible. I have a lot to cover today, and we're cutting off early today. Some of you may wonder if we're doing a solo discussion today. The answer is no, because I haven't seen Solo yet. I was actually supposed to see it last Friday, but unfortunately, so Sis and her husband were unavailable, so it was just going to be me and Third, which is, you know, acceptable. I mean, I love going to hang out with Third. And unfortunately, Third was not available. So we had to cancel, but we're watching it tonight. We're watching it tonight after the stream. I'm going to be cutting off at pretty much at 6, because I need to leave here to get to the movies at about 6:20 or 6:30 or so. I'm going to have a burger. I'm going to see Solo. I have no idea how good it'll be. I don't care. Blah, 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 blah. I haven't been watching the reviews. I disagree with all of them anyways, usually, so why even bother, right? So, that's why we're not doing a solo discussion today, because I haven't seen it yet. We will be doing a solo discussion next Sunday, by the way. Oh, yes, and also I've heard plenty of people ask when we're doing, one moment. This game. This game right here. In case you can't see it there. So, this has shown up, which is good, because there was actually some question as to whether or not I was going to get a copy at all or not. I've already tweeted about this, of course, so those of you who follow my Twitter already are aware of this. And I don't know when we'll be streaming this. It depends on when the Legion lore run ends. I also have plenty of tons and tons of YouTube work to get done. It's burying me, guys. It's burying me in its work. So at some point we'll watch. I'll put it on the YouTube, or I'll put it on the website. I always put this stuff on the website. Like if I don't, it's an exception, not a rule. Website. Let's talk about lawsuits. What's Magic Lamb? So actually, I have 2 lawsuit concepts to talk about. I'm not really newsing about the lawsuits themselves, so much as the concepts they bring up. So first, we're going to talk about the ethically questionable lawsuit, and then we'll talk about the counter-marketing lawsuit, because there's the 2 of them. What's the timestamp? 7:30. Ethically questionable lawsuit. For those of you not aware. Oh, I get you, Rex. That's actually funny. Everyone made a Mario Party joke. I was actually thinking in a completely different direction with that. Like, Become Human is the name of the game. So I'm like, clearly the Toad is trying to become human. Anyways, let's talk about Google, Facebook, and I don't remember the name of the other characters. Or, I mean, companies. I was distracted by a character. Thank you, Easel Games. Those companies are being sued by a person who I will not bother to give any additional information on. You can Google it if you really care, ironically. Over a lack of compliance over the GDPR. Now, if you don't know what the GDPR is, to super summarize it, the European Union has enacted a rule. They actually technically enacted it, I think, like 2 years ago at this point. It's been a while. And then there was like a year implementation grace period, which ended last week. And now it is fully in effect. GDPR is a privacy thing. And it boils down to requiring consumer consent in order to share their private data that companies gather. Yeah, if you don't know what GDPR is, you have not gotten 30,000 emails in the last couple of weeks. Good God. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I've gotten so many emails, it's actually gotten ridiculous. Because so many companies have been going ahead and updating their privacy policies in order to accommodate for this. Now, let's make this clear. This is serious, because violation of the GDPR would be a very damaging thing to happen to a company. There would be a great deal of fines, just as a start, and then they would have to face the possibility of no longer being able to do business in Europe. Kind of a big deal. Now, whether this law is a good thing or a bad thing, whether it changes anything, whether it matters, that's kind of up to you. Like, that's a broader scope question, and not one that I really care about, to be completely honest with you. What really matters is that the same day that the GDPR went into effect, Google, Facebook and some of their subsidiary companies were sued, and a lawsuit was put against them for lack of compliance to GDPR. Now, before I go into any nitty-gritty details, what already sounds wrong about that? Hi, Grey Wolf. Or should I say werewolf? On which court? Polish, I believe, is where it's starting. But it will eventually go to an EU court, if I am not mistaken. I will go with werewolf, because that sounds cool. Yeah, the speed in which that lawsuit happens should really raise your eyebrow. That should absolutely make you go. Because there's just something weird about that. They definitely had their grace period. And they also claim that they have complied. All of them. Now, go ahead, FM Nito. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to give press, but go ahead if you really want to. I'm not going to censor you. So yeah, the relevant point here is that the changes have already happened to their privacy policy and the way that the company functions. The only logical way by which someone would have pushed forward a lawsuit the same day it was implemented is if they were already ready and prepared to do this before it was implemented. Now, if you don't understand the significance of that, that flat out means that they believed they were non-compliant before they had a chance to prove that they were. Now, this gets a little gray, if I'm being honest with you guys. That's part of the reason I wanted to bring this up. Because let's go ahead and discuss the possible ramifications of this lawsuit. It's actually very minor, relatively speaking. First of all, fees. I already mentioned that. We're talking in the, I believe, 7-digit range? No, that's wrong. 10. We're in the 10-digit range of fees for this kind of a violation. And that's not insignificant. This would be an absolutely insane amount of money that these companies will have to pay out, combined, of course, over to the EU as part of their fines. Then they would have to seriously consider whether or not they would allow those companies to still operate under the same auspices within Europe. And yes, I do mean literally billions. It is a fairly large sum of money, even for them. Here's the thing. Plenty of people don't like Google or Facebook. In fact, I saw some comments in chat earlier to that exact effect. And you know what? No judgment, no blame game, no nothing. If you don't like Facebook or Google, that's your thing. If I don't like Facebook or Google, that's my thing, right? It's basically unconnected to this. But this is why the morality of this kind of comes in for me. Because I actually did a little research into this in my spare time before I was going to bed every night. Because I've been following this ever since it was announced. Near as I can tell, this guy has been a very anti-Facebook and anti-Google person for several years. To the point of probably taking it just a little bit too seriously. But he has been very anti-Google, anti-Facebook. This is not the first time he has gone after them. He has failed in the past, but that's neither here nor there. This is obviously something that he is basically just using the GDPR to continue attempting his personal crusade against the companies. This is why I say this is kind of a gray situation. Because I bet you if I walked up to you and asked you the question I'm about to ask, I would get a significant variance of responses from different people. And the question is, do you think it's acceptable to misuse the law in a way that is technically illegal in order to accomplish something that you believe to be morally correct? You can kind of see why this is kind of a gray question, really. It sets dangerous precedent, very dangerous precedent. But I also know plenty of people who are very anti-law and therefore would be completely fine with that. because they're trying to accomplish something good through the incorrect system, you know. And there's gray here. That's really the main point I'm making here, is that this is a very messed up scenario. And as the Count points out, it only takes one person to say yes. One individual who is already doing this. Because I absolutely guarantee you, with, I'd say, 90% certainty, based on what I have researched into this matter, that that is this gentleman's mentality. I am going to use the technicality of the law in a way that's probably not actually, you know, this is not really how the law should be applied in order to accomplish something that I believe to be a greater good. Damaging Google and damaging Facebook. And specifically going after their privacy laws and their privacy policies. So, yay. I'm curious how this one's going to go. Because I can go and give my predictions right now based on how it is already gone. Some of these people have already been brought into some meetings and some courtrooms. I'm pretty sure Google is going to be fine. Google will be like, yep, no, we're fine. We worked this out. We're cool. Facebook. The problem with Facebook... Well, okay, let me go ahead and add my opinion now, finally. I can't stand Facebook. I have actually gone out of my way to not have Facebook for basically all of my life. I've only ever had a Facebook account once because I built one for the show. People are like, you should have social media for the show. And I'm like, okay. And then I made a Facebook account, and then I hated it, and then I deleted it. I'm not a fan of Facebook. I never have been. For a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into that. It's not even really a political thing. I just don't like it. But I also have to admit that there's no way for Facebook to be able to not beat this and this still not be bad for other companies. Now, I know... So there's two concepts. One is precedent, and one is precedence. And you're like, what's the difference? Actually, I don't remember which is which, to be completely honest with you, so forgive me. But one of them is the legal term, and one of them is the reality term. Legal precedent, as I've discussed before, is actually a very complicated thing and requires very specific things to happen. This will not set legal precedent unless very specific things happen. But this will set precedents, which is the reality term, which at least I think it is. In other words, this is going to set a situation in which other people are going to start saying, oh, I could do this too. Please remember that this gentleman who is suing Google and Facebook has functionally already won. Because he's already a lawyer. Let's just go ahead and give that away. So he's just going ahead and giving away some of his time and maybe a little bit of money to push this lawsuit forward, the filing fees and all that kind of a thing. Google and Facebook, they have to push their lawyers out. They have to spend the time and the money defending themselves, and their image is being damaged in the process. This has already, as of now, cost them more than it cost him. Which is something I am actually extremely against when it comes to legal systems in general. So, yay. Yeah, what Easel says is an excellent summary. The accused puts forth all effort and deals with all blame. Lord knows I know about that. Anyways. Can it be thrown out as non-relevant? If it was going to be, it probably already would have been. We'll see. There is a chance that can still happen. I don't actually know the legal system of Poland in particular, or the EU in general, as well as I do the legal system here of the United States. So I'm actually not 100% sure if their system works the same way as ours. But I imagine it at very least is similar in one way, and that's because it'll probably take absolutely frickin' forever. So this could be going on for a couple years, guys. We'll see, I suppose. Exactly, Hazardous. Innocent until proven guilty is a nice platitude that is not true, at least here in the States. Anywho, I don't want to get too much off on how much I absolutely despise the legal system. Because I do. I'm not going to hide that opinion. But, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the other lawsuit. Let's just move on. Because I just wanted to bring up that topic. The idea of, do you think... Because the overall point I wanted to make, as absolutely weird as this sounds, is, do you think this is right? Do you think this is the right thing to do? Not the correct thing to do. That's a different topic. But do you think this is right, what these gentlemen, I should actually use the plural here, but what the main impetus has started is correct. Is right. So, what can we replace it with? I propose we invent scrying magic. Yeah, no. Let's talk about counter-marketing. I'm just going to go ahead and shift here a little bit. Now, on this one, I have a much stronger opinion, because this one's an interesting one. How many of you know what counter-marketing even is, before I begin? Like I said, we only have a couple of topic points today. Okay, anybody who was alive and active in video gaming in the 90s knows what counter-marketing is, whether you really realize it or not. How many times did you see Sega say, "We've got better stuff than the SNES"? How many times did you see SNES adverts that said, "We're better than the Genesis"? How many times did you see the PlayStation 1, who billed itself entirely on a marketing campaign when it came out of, "We're better than the N64"? This is counter-marketing. This is the idea of deliberately marketing your product by comparing it and contrasting it to another brand. The reason it's called counter-marketing is because you are effectively also marketing them at the same time, as weird as that may sound. Now, counter-marketing is old, really old. It's a long-standing process, or a concept, I should say. It goes back to, God, at least the 20s here in the States. It probably goes back further if we want to really follow this down the rabbit hole. It's an extremely common, extremely old form of marketing. Now, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical question. If Sega sued... Actually, let's go with the other way. If Nintendo sued Sega over the Sega does what Nintendo don't thing, what would you think about that, just in a vacuum? Yeah, Coke and Pepsi have been doing it for forever. Cigarettes have been doing it. That's the oldest one I can think of. Cigarette adverts. We offer the smooth brand such and such. That other brand doesn't. How typical of Nintendo. Which is actually funny, but I won't get into that. The causation in question is you are damaging our brand by associating your brand with ours. That's the specific impetus of the lawsuit. Obviously, this is actually a real lawsuit that's happening now. I'm just using video games as an example. So, how many of you, let's just go ahead and get to the actual thing that this is being branded on. How many of you have heard of the Happytime Murders? It's a movie that's coming out, I believe, this year. The Happytime Murders is a Muppet movie, but I don't mean like it's Muppets. I mean it is a movie with Muppet-style Muppets. It is a very dark comedy built around murder mysteries, basically a murder mystery serial. And someone is going around killing Muppets. And yeah, it's a parody. It is a parody. And yeah, this is the wrong song for this. Hang on. Let's go up to... I have a different playlist. I just keep using this playlist every time we talk about legal stuff. The Law Runner. don't want to be the law runner. Please don't make me take over the world. I really don't want to. I really don't want that job. So, yes, Sesame Street is suing them over this. Sesame Street is suing them over this. They also did sue Avenue Q, yes. I don't remember how that ended, to be honest with you. Pretty sure they failed. So. Oh, shoot. I just had it memorized. I was just looking this up this morning just to refresh myself on it. Hang on. Here we go. One suit, two suits, Oh, I'm sure the movie looks pretty bad. I have no interest in seeing it. There it is. So the exact and specific phrase, this is why counter-marketing is built into this. One of the marketing taglines for the movie is, "No Sesame, all street." That's one of the taglines for the movie. That's pretty much the entirety of their legal basis right there. They believe that this will be damaging to their brand because of the fact that they worry that, you know, this, oh my God, people are going to look at this and think this is Sesame Street. Now, I don't agree. But the problem, and this again kind of ties into what we were talking about last time, is that this is the same... So this is why I mentioned that counter-marketing is the thrust of their thing. They're not actually suing for defamation. They're not actually suing for a violation of... God, I can't even think of the freaking word right now. The violation of such and such. They're suing because of the fact that they believe that this is a... misleading advertising campaign. I can actually give you two other examples of something like this, and Hazard has just mentioned one of them in chat. This is kind of like saying Spaceballs is confusing people to think that it's Star Wars. It's also kind of like trying to get people to think that Austin Powers, I believe 3, is actually Phantom Menace. Again, this is an old concept. This is a very, very old concept as far as the from a marketing perspective. Which is why I look at this, and over here in reality land, like, let's assume there's two courts. There's the legal court and the reality court. If you haven't heard me talk about this before, reality and legality are worlds apart. So in reality court, I'd say, get out of my office. And that's the end of it. Unfortunately, they have a leg to stand on in a legal court. They actually have the ability to sit in a legal situation and say, all we have to do is prove that one person finds this to be a thing of Sesame Street. All we need is one case, one example, and then we will be able to use that as our test study. And we'll be able to say that and say, here you go. This is now proof that there is a person who has been believing this is Sesame Street, which is counterproductive to our brand and damaging to our brand. Now, here's the funny part. They're not suing them to change the marketing campaign. They're suing them for money. So once again, let's go over here to reality land. Get out of my office. But in legal land, suing people for money is pretty much the norm. So that actually isn't a factor in the legal proceedings. It doesn't matter, in other words. All they are suing for is, all they have to do is say, you have damaged our brand, And here's this completely made up, and let's just be honest, it is completely made up. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever studied company lawsuits before over money or defamation or damaging. If you ever see someone sue for damages, what they mean is give me money. Let's just say that as bluntly as we possibly can. Okay, we're here in reality land, okay? In reality, we can actually say that this is just, you want money, give me money. So whenever someone is suing for damages, they just make up some freaking number, and it's usually the most ridiculous, incredulous number they can. Now, they don't always get what they ask for, but they always ask for as much as they possibly can. And in order to do that, they usually assume, like, the max possible number of viewers over the max possible amount of time for the max possible number of shows. Like in video gaming, for example, someone might assume that we have the best sales season we've ever had, and 100% of those people bought our product, as well as everything they can buy along with our product, and that 100% of those sales were not happening as a result of whatever it is we're suing you over. Therefore, that number, that gargantuan number, is what we're suing you for, even though that number is a lie. And let's just say that as bluntly as we possibly can. The argument that's usually said in return for what the damages is usually... That's weird. Is usually something along the lines of, well, we don't have metrics on exactly what it should be, so we presume the highest. Judge does not always determine damages, no. There are actually 3 different sources that can determine what the actual awarded damages are here in the States. Including the accusor. So, yay. Now, unlike the last thing, I think this is a little less gray, because because this is stupid. Because this is stupid. God almighty, I've lost my ability to word. I hope they fail. They might not. I don't even care about Happytime Murders. I don't give a crap. I'm not going to see the movie. I saw a preview of it during Deadpool, when I went to see Deadpool 2. And me and Third both looked at each other like, no. No. Well, you don't want to see that immediately? No. No. This is a movie that I have absolutely no investment in. I still hope this lawsuit fails, because it is my opinion that this is wrong. As in, morally, ethically wrong. That this is the kind of thing that would not be acceptable in reality land, and furthermore, sets dangerous precedents. Again, precedents, not precedent. Lord knows we already have way, way too many people who try to jump on the lawsuit bandwagon. And I don't think we need more encouragement. No, because legal land is always changing, Warden. That's one of the really weird things about the legal system, about the vengeance system, is that the rules change pretty much all the time. Also, legal land defines reality land, even though it shouldn't, but I wouldn't want to get into that topic. That's all I got for topics today. I could talk about other stuff. I have other topics to talk about, but I just kind of want to get on with the lore run, if that's okay with you. Everyone cool with that? You want to play some WoW? I was actually going to play a little bit of Bloodstained here for you guys, but I really just want to get on with the lore run. I have so much work to do. So, for those of you watching on YouTube, shortest lore run ever.